What's up, guys? It's your boy. I'm back at it again. That's right. This is the second part to my first acid experience story. Now, some of you guys might notice I changed my name. And you might be asking, why did you change your name to Boneless Nuts? It was just a joke, really. It was something really stupid that was on my brain. The words boneless nuts just popped into my head one night while I was stoned in my bed. And I was like, you know what? I'm renaming my channel to Boneless Nuts. So it was pretty much just a stupid ass inside joke. And I went along with it because it just sounded really fucking dumb. And I'm all for some dumb shit, depending on what it is. But, so last time we left off, I believe I was telling you guys the part where I was smoking a Newport cigarette, for anybody that doesn't know what the fuck that is. I don't know how you wouldn't though, but anyways. Now, the reason me smoking that cigarette was a bad idea isn't because it worsened my high. I actually was relaxed and calm afterwards. I'm not even gonna lie. The reason it was a bad idea is because right after I was done with my cigarette, I look at Matt and David and I'm like, yo, we gotta roll another blunt and smoke that shit. And of course, my buddy Matt, being who he was, he's instantly on board. He's like, yeah, dude, that sounds like a banger ass idea. I'm down with it. Let's go. Let's do this. And my buddy's friend David, he's just looking at both of us like, what the fuck are y'all doing? You know, because obviously I was having a bad trip at first. You know, I wasn't calm until I stepped outside. So David, he was probably a little concerned. You know, being that he's probably seen many people do stupid shit like that and get fucked up over it, you know. But yeah, so we go inside, we roll this blunt, and it's no small blunt either. It's a fatty, it's a fat one. So we smoke this bitch, and I'll say it's about a 10-minute smoke sesh. Like we were smoking that fucking thing for a minute, and I want to say 25 to 30 minutes later, after we were done, surprisingly enough, I was calm. I was relaxed. My acid, it was calming down. And I guess that's just because everybody gets affected differently, you know, from the substances they're on. And I suppose my tolerance, maybe it just built up a little quicker than my buddy Matt's, because my buddy Matt, oh my goodness, he started freaking out like crazy. I was like, Jesus, that's fucking wild. And that was me a little while ago, you know. I was like bamboozled by the sight of it because I had never seen him act like that. Like he was just all over the place. And he was telling us there was somebody staring at us through the window. So I look at David, and he's got this look on his face like, oh, for fuck's sake. It's the kind of look you have when you're like, oh, okay, this is definitely not going the way I want it to. And so I look back at my buddy Matt, and I'm like, look, bro, there's nobody out there. I don't see shit. And so his buddy David is like, let's go check. You know, maybe he's seen someone and we just missed them. Let's go see what's going on outside. So we step outside. We're out there for about 5 minutes looking around. We don't see shit. All we see is a bunch of birds flying around and some bright ass sun effects going on, you know? That's all we see. So we step back inside and we're looking at Matt, you know, and he's kind of just, he's just sitting there trolling and shit. and he looks like he's frightened, you know. And that was a real bummer, you know. It kind of made me feel bad because I have never seen him like that ever. He's always been a very hyper and excited guy, you know. He's always got a smile and he's always cracking a laugh. So that kind of upset me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, it upset me a little bit to see him like that. So I look at David and I'm like, yo, what do we do about this? Like, I've never seen him like that. And so David, he's looking at me. He's just like, dude, there's nothing we can do. The only thing we can do is make sure he's good. And at that point, I was like, damn. So at this point, now I don't even have time to focus on the fact of, I can't even focus on myself. So if my trip was going bad and I was hallucinating, at this point I wouldn't even fucking notice because I had to sit trip my boy. And I'm gonna be honest, it was a bummer because I thought this was gonna be a really good, cool experience, and it kind of probably could have been if I wouldn't have mentioned smoking another blunt, because my boy Matt was doing fine before. So yeah, that kind of made me feel kind of rough inside. I was like, damn, that was a fucked up idea. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. So I'll say 35 minutes later, these two girls show up. And David, he just face palms. It was it was the funniest shit I've seen in my life. The way he did it, it was like the most disappointed face palm I've ever seen in my life. So I'm gonna assume he knew those two girls. So these girls show up and they're knocking at the door, and I'm like, well, I don't know them, so I don't know if I even want to answer the door. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know these girls. They might be trouble. And I wasn't too far from the truth with that statement. But so these girls, they're here. I open the door and I ask them who the fuck they are. I'm like, yo, who the hell are y'all? Like, I don't remember seeing you guys over here like ever. And I've been over here almost every day of my life. And, well, my teenage life anyway. But these girls respond with, oh, we're friends of Matt. Okay, you're friends with Matt. That's cool. But why are you here? And they tell me that Matt called them and told them to slide through. So I'm gonna assume my nigga Matt must have called these girls, like, I don't know, I guess he called them when we were smoking the blunts and shit, before we got high off acid and shit. I'm guessing that's when he called them up. So I let him in. It was a mistake, but I let him in. So David looks at me. He's like, oh, fuck, this is not going to go well. And I'm just like, what do you mean by that? Like, well, it's just two girls, you know what I'm saying? What could go wrong? And right off the back, I'm going to say about 15 minutes after I let these two girls in the house, they start acting weird. Like, they start whispering to each other and shit. And I'm like, that looks like two girls that are scheming. They're plotting something over there. And I don't fucking like that. So David gets up. He goes outside. And for the first time ever, he asks me for a cigarette. He's like, bro, let me get one of those. And I'm like, whoa, I've never seen him do that before. Like, I've been around this guy quite a few times, and he's so calm about everything that I didn't even know he smoked cigarettes. So we get done smoking these squares, And we start feeling a little relaxed. We feel at ease now. So we head back inside as any normal person would do. We roll 2 blunts and we smoke them with these girls. And right off the bat, the walls are spinning again, the ceiling's spinning, everything's spinning, and it was just a little wild. I'm not seeing shit anymore, but shit was still spinning really fast. But I don't have any fucking time to focus on myself, because my boy Matt is still going through some shit. So I look at Matt and I'm like, hey man, how you doing? And finally he's able to muster up one word and he's like, all right. And that was good. I was glad to hear that. Until these girls storm off. They run out the door. And I'm just sitting here like, oh fuck. They must have done something. Like, what is it now? So my boy David, he sits down and he reaches under the table for something. And right off the bat, he starts getting irritated. Cause I'm assuming he couldn't find something at this point. And I'm like, hey man, what you looking for? He was like, dude, I think those bitches stole my fucking weed. Cause he had a sack of weed under the table. And I'm looking at Matt and I'm like, well, there was no way that my boy Matt could have stopped that from happening. Cause, you know, he's still tripping. Like, this guy's out of the world tripping right now. So he couldn't have done anything even if he tried. So my boy David, he's like, no, fuck that. I ain't letting that shit go down like that. So he goes outside and he probably knows where they live. So about 30 minutes later, I start hearing people arguing. And it's because, to my surprise, they came back. And David was talking to them about some shit. And when they started yelling, I instantly pieced together the fact that they probably stole his shit. And he wasn't happy, so he had to tell him what was on his mind. So I'm looking at this go down, and I'm like, well, I don't know if he hits woman, but I better step in before somebody calls the cops. So I go outside, and I'm like, yo, David, bro, we gotta chill out, because this looks like a neighborhood where somebody's gonna snitch if something happens. So this girl, she's like, all up in his face and shit, telling him what you're gonna do about it, shit like that. And out of nowhere, my boy, he like, I totally wish I would have recorded this, because this shit was fucking hilarious. My boy whips his belt off and starts whooping her ass, literally. And I'm dying laughing. Like, I'm confused, but I'm also laughing my ass off. So this girl's, she's got welts, man. I'm talking about the welts of 1,000 years of slavery on their fucking ass cheeks, man. I'm just gonna say it was a bad time for her to be wearing booty shorts. That was fucking hilarious to me. I was like, damn, she just got her ass whooped, literally. And so he puts his belt back and he reaches in their glove box. He gets his weed back, which, funny enough to me, I would have assumed like since they pulled off, 30 minutes ago, due to the fact it was stolen weed, I assumed they would have took it to the house, but for some reason, they kept it on them, which was pretty stupid of them to do if they really did plan on stealing it. But, so, yeah, I guess my boy David, I thought he, like, left or something because he was upset, but he was just waiting on the porch the whole time, just waiting for them to come back, because I guess he told me he texted them and told them they left something there. They must have believed him because we smoked a blunt or two with them when they first got there. So I guess they were high enough to be fooled. And goddamn, he fooled them good. But I didn't know that he was still there, just waiting for them to come back. I had no idea David was still there. I thought he had left, like I said before, because I was sitting down, looking after my boy Matt, because he was still, he was still kind of idle in the brain at the moment. So, 20 minutes after this stupid, crazy shit happened, my boy Matt, he's back to his senses a little bit, just enough to communicate and walk around. He's saying he still sees shit, but he's starting to calm down a bit, because he knows it's not real now. And so he sees these girls, like, in the front yard yelling at Matt, not Matt, but David. He sees his buddy David getting scolded by women. And he's like, yo, what the fuck is going on outside? And I'm like, they said you called them earlier, and told them to slide through. And he's just looking at me like, damn, I don't remember doing that, but I don't know. I probably did. So he goes outside, and he's like diffusing the situation at this point. He's like, dude, y'all gotta shut the fuck up or get the hell out of here, because I was already having a bad trip, and I don't really want to hear this right now. So these girls, they settle down a bit. Of course, they're still pissed because their mission was unsuccessful. But everything calms down a bit. And Matt he's a magic man when it comes to making people bond. I don't know what it is about that guy, but he's kind of like the Goku of real life. He always makes people become friends. So he somehow gets them to apologize to David. And David accepts the apology. And then everybody, we all have a celebratory smoke sesh. And surprisingly enough, my buddy Matt says that it calms him down. So I'm geeking now. I'm like excited. I'm like, hell yeah. My boy's doing good now. Everything is Gucci. And like, I want to say 15 minutes after we smoked, now the girls, they're leaving. They're going home. And instead of stealing, they decided to buy a 20 sack off of David, which he accepted the offer. Obviously, it's money. Money is money. So they pull off, they leave, and now David has to go home. He's got some shit he has to do. So now it's just me and Matt. We're in the house. It's about to be 7:30. It's getting kind of dark out. So we had the smart idea of taking a walk. We was like, you know what? Let's take a walk. Because my buddy Matt, at this point, he was already 21. He's older than me. And so, as we're on this walk, we see this, what I assume was a crackhead. And he's like asking us for crack. And we're just sitting here like, dude, we don't even, we don't smoke crack, you know what I mean? We don't do no crack. We don't even know where like a plug would be at, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have no fucking idea where to find any of that shit. So this guy, he's upset about this. I don't know why he's upset about this, but he's upset. He's like, well, fuck you. Me and my boy Matt, we just look at him, we're like, what? You asked us where crack was at, and we was just letting you know, we don't know where it's at. We don't smoke crack. So, this guy is so upset, he decides to pull out a knife. And once again, demands us to tell him where the crack is at. And we're just looking around, looking for weapons. And then I realized, you know what? I don't care if I have a weapon or not. I ain't going down like no bitch. And apparently, Matt, he pulls out what looks to be some kind of, I want to say it was like a karambit knife. He's like, yo, dude, check this shit out. He flips that fucking shit out, and I'm like, what the fuck? Where did you get that from? Because I don't know any place around where I live at where you can buy one of those. And he was like, oh, I got it from a buddy. And so, we're like, what's funny to me is we're having this conversation, and this guy, he's like yelling at us. We're not even paying attention at this point. This guy's got a knife out, yelling at us, and we're over here talking about fucking karambits. And so when we look over, this guy starts charging us. And so some kid from across the way threw some kind of fucking rock, and it knocked this guy out. He was cold. He was knocked out cold. I was like, damn, that kid's a fucking savage. And this kid, he's like, I'm not gonna lie, he's like 25 feet away from us. He's a little bit of a distance away. So the fact that he was even able to throw that fucking thing that far, as young as he was impressive to me. And then this kid runs off. I'm just sitting here, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I feel like I'm in a goddamn movie right now. And my boy Matt is just like at this point, we forgot where we were even gonna take a walk to go to. Like we forgot the reason we was on the walk. So we're like, fuck this, man. Let's just go back to the crib. So we walk back to the crib. We start watching movies. So we decided to throw on some horror movies and shit, because our highs finally calmed down. Like, we're still stoned, but it's at a point to where we're not really tripping balls anymore. We're just relaxed. Even after the confrontation with whoever the fuck that was. I'm just gonna call him Bobby the crack addict. But so we're like at the crib watching this stupid ass horror movie. It was some kind of parody of Scream. Like, I guess if you can even consider it a horror movie, I guess it could be a horror comedy or whatever the fuck. We're laughing our asses off. And then my buddy Matt's sister, she like comes home. She's like, hey, there's this guy looking for you. And we're just looking at each other like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, don't fucking tell me it's this crackhead that we just ran into. And it wasn't actually the crackhead. Thanks Jesus Christ for that. No one wants a crackhead to know where they live at. That's always a very bad experience. But it was a guy that Matt had beef with. My buddy Matt, he gives this expression on his face. The expression you give someone when you're like, well, why the fuck would you bring them around me? And so this guy's screaming outside, talking about some get the fuck out here. I'm like, dude, we had enough drama earlier. Like, we don't really need this shit. And so I look at my buddy Matt. I'm like, dude, what did you do to piss that guy off? And he was like, oh, well, that guy, he stole some of my weed, so I stole his Xbox controller. And so I'm like, oh, my God, dude, what's with you always making yourself some kind of magnet for drama? it's like he's such a happy and hyper exciting guy, but he was also very bad at keeping away from drama. And so I go outside. I'm like, dude, look, we're not looking for trouble. If you want your controller back, yeah, I can get it back for you. But you're going to have to give him some weed back. And so this guy, he's not down with that. He wants to be a little gangster man. He wants to be a cool guy. And I realized this guy's got his girlfriend with him. So my instant thought was, oh hell yeah. We got a fucking fuckboy trying to impress a girl. This is perfect. So I'm like, yo Matt, come out here real quick. I want to show you something. So I go over here and I'm getting up in his face now. I'm like, yo, you best be stepping the fuck off. Because if you're here to find some beef, you done found it. You done goofed. So this guy, he's trying to act all hard. So he swings at me. And he hits me. He actually has an accurate punch. He hits me in the nose. And I step back a little bit. Not because it hurt. It just surprised me how fucking weak his throws were. That guy, his punch felt like if a feather tapped your nose. Like, I'm dead ass serious. Like, I didn't even feel it. I couldn't even feel that shit, man. So I swing back at him and I hit him in the stomach. I don't hit him in the face because I ain't trying to catch no case. I just want to get him the fuck away from my buddy Matt. And so this guy starts tearing up. My buddy Matt is dying laughing on the porch. He's just watching this shit go down. He's dying. And so this guy starts punching me in the stomach with like, I think he punched me like 4 times. He's quick, but he ain't got no power to match that quickness. And that's a bit of a problem in the world of street fighting. I'm going to be honest with y'all. And so I'm just looking at him and I start to chuckle. And I guess that frightens the guy. And so he tries to kick me. He kicks me in my leg and I don't even move. Like my leg, it moved like a centimeter. That's about it. And when he realizes I'm about to swing back, he starts saying, "Oh, dude, I was just fucking around. Like I just wanted to see if Matt would be about that life, but it looks like he didn't want to fight." And I was like, "No, I told him to sit back and watch. That's the only reason he didn't fight." And so this dude, he has the nerve to say, "Oh, well, I was just kidding. I didn't really want to fight. I just wanted to see, what he would do." And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, yeah, I don't believe that shit. So, funny enough, a week later, we found out his girlfriend had dumped him and told him he was a little bitch. So, everything went well for us. That shit was funny. And that was about all that happened. That sums up the story. That's like the end right there. So, me and my buddy Matt, every time we kind of reflect on this story, I guess when we reminisce about it, we kind of start feeling like, man, I'm kind of glad, that we quit doing all those drugs and shit, because our brain would probably be very fucking dead if we hadn't, to be honest with you. To be honest with you guys, there's probably a lot that I missed, because when you're doing drugs like that, you probably won't remember anything after. And I'm kind of stoned, so if I fucked up it somewhere, I apologize. But leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed. I'll see you motherfuckers next time. Yeah, what is up, guys? It's your boy Boneless. I'm back. I wanted to mention something real quick because it seems to me that I kind of had forgotten to mention this whilst I was recording this video because I was stoned as fuck. And obviously, when you're stoned, you're going to forget some shit. But I mentioned the fact that my buddy Matt was 21 on the part where I was talking about how we went on a walk after the day was over. The only reason I mentioned he was 21 is due to the fact that my city is a bit dangerous at times, and it was very dark out at that point in the story. So, me being 17 at the time, I felt safer with someone that was 21 with me whilst I was walking. Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't no bitch, and I still ain't one, but you'd rather be safe than sorry when you live in an area that's kind of dangerous. But anyway, that's all. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like and comment if you did.